Bear with me 1 second, Israel. Mm-hmm. All right. Most High Christ. Shalom, Israel. Yahweh Bashem Yahshua Barakatham. Yahweh Shamar. Alatham Bashem Yahshua. Priest and Officer 1000 Yedaya. This is the Friday night scripture breakdown class with Rez. Now, black man, Hispanic man, First Nation man and woman. First thing we have to understand that we are the Israelites of antiquity. We are the biblical Israelites, the First Nation man and woman, the so-called Hispanic man and woman, and the black man and woman. As you can see on my t-shirt, Israel, you know what I mean? First Nation man, black man and woman, you are black just like me. We are the Israelites of antiquity. And it's time for us to separate from America and come back to our culture. Because this Bible right here was only given to so-called blacks, Hispanics, and First Nation men and women. This Bible holds the keys to our liberation and salvation as the Lord's chosen people. I know it's hard to understand and believe right now, being in the reservations, being in the barrios, being in the ghettos and the slums, but we are the people that the Lord chose. Like, Bob, give me Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. I'm going to give it to you in the scriptures. I'm going to show you in the scriptures that we are the Lord's chosen people. And I'm going to go into some of the curses that came upon our people because we decided to turn away from our power and turn away from our God. Now that America is being plagued with the COVID-19 and all these other plagues that are soon to come on America, this is the time for us to look ourselves in the mirror, black man, First Nation man and woman, to realize that this is the time for us to get ourselves together. It's time for us to gather ourselves together. Yea, gather together, O nation not desired, as Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1 says. The last thing the oppressor, who is the Caucasian man in race on this earth, who is the devil that the Bible speaks of, he doesn't want black and brown people to get back together. He does not want us to understand that we are God's true chosen people. That's why they love to force every evil and wicked thing on this earth to the Lord's chosen people. But right now, Israel, we are waking up to the truth. And we are going to go into the truth tonight on who we truly are as the Lord's chosen people. But first, let me get Deuteronomy 7 and verse 6.
Oh God. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6. Mm-hmm. For thou art a holy people.
For thou art a holy people. I know most of us growing up in the Christian church, you think that holy is your grandma or your auntie, you know what I mean, with the feathered hat on and the white gown. That's not what holy means. Holy means to be separate. God is saying, First Nation man and woman, black man and woman, you need to be separate. Holy means to be separate. I know we've been taught lies in our upbringing, but first thing we have to understand is we are a holy people. We are a separate people according to the Most High. Read on.
Unto the Lord thy God.
Unto the Lord thy God. Meaning, we are supposed to be separate unto the Most High. And guess what? Segregation was one of the best things that happened with our people. We were segregated amongst ourselves. If you look at Rosewood and you look at Black Wall Street down in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the black man and the First Nation man and woman, we were living fine together, separated from these other nations, separated from the oppressor, separated from the Chinese and the Japanese and the Arabs. When we were together, all was well, we was cool. But as soon as integration came along, guess what? Guess what? That's when our people started to fall. First Nation man and woman, when you first came over here to the so-called Americas, because you were here first, this is your land. You were living in peace and harmony. But look who came, the so-called oppressor. And our people, Ibad, are so loving, so caring, taught the oppressor the principles of agriculture, thought that you was making a new friend, and then the oppressor showed that he is the devil that the Bible speaks of. This is why the Lord made us to be a holy people, a separate people, and that's how we are better off. We are better off segregated from these other nations so we can build our nation back up. First Nation man and woman, Black man and woman, so-called Hispanic man and woman, we have to build up the nation of Israel because we are Israel, Yasha Allah in the Hebrew. We are the sons and daughters of the power, and we are to be separate. The worst thing that happened to our people was trying to make peace and come together with the oppressor and with these other nations because they don't give a damn about us. But the Most High, Yahweh, does. The Israelite School of UPK does. We give a damn about our First Nation brothers and sisters, our Black brothers and sisters, our Mexican brothers and sisters, you know what I mean, that are being destroyed and raped at the border. Our brothers and sisters over there in Brazil and the Amazon. Our brothers and sisters in Haiti and in the Dominican Republic. We are supposed to be a holy nation, separate unto the Lord thy God. Meaning God don't love everybody, and that's a myth that we have to debunk right now. We've been taught all our lives that God loves everybody. We all come from Adam, and that is nonsense. You cannot show us anywhere in the Bible. I implore you to show me where God loves everybody. You can't do it because God loves that First Nation man and woman. God loves that Black man and woman. God loves that Hispanic man and woman. He don't give a damn about these other nations. That's why the Lord told us that we should be a holy nation unto him, separate unto the Lord, because the Lord is separate. Now, if the Lord is separate and we're separate, then where do these other nations come into play? Where do they come into play? What help and support do they give us? They don't. They cannot stand us. This is why it's important for us to give our love back to each other. Can you imagine how strong our nation would be when the Black man gives that love back to the Black woman, when the First Nation man gives that love back to the First Nation woman, when the Hispanic man gives that love back to the Hispanic woman? We have to give our love back to each other, Israel. I pray you understand. Read on.
Unto himself.
Unto himself. God chose us to be a holy people unto himself. Read on.
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Not some people. We are above all people. I know it may not seem like so, that First Nation man and woman that is suffering on the reservation, that Hispanic man and woman suffering in the barrio, that Black man and woman suffering in the ghetto, but we are above these other nations. God chose us to be his special people, his favorite people, man. Christians like to put, limitations on God, restrictions on God, that he can't have a favorite anything, that he just has to love everything equally. And that is not true, because God does not love these other nations at all. You can't find that nowhere in the Bible. God only loves his people, and we are God's chosen people. Read on.
Verse 7. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people.
And the thing is, we have to understand, it's not because we were more in number of any other people. Technically, we're the youngest nation. All the other nations were already here and established. God didn't choose us because we was the largest nation, or we had a one-up on these other nations. But what makes us special, what makes us the salt of the earth, is that the Most High decided to choose that First Nation man and woman, that Black man and woman, that so-called Hispanic man and woman. That's why the Lord said to be a special people unto himself and above all people that are upon the face of the earth. And I know we are taught this, that we all come out of Adam. They're going to tell you that. They're going to tell us that, but we all come out of Adam, Yediah. We all come from Adam. All people come from Adam. There was people here, before Adam.
Right.
Adam was not the first man, and I can break that down for you if you got any questions, Israel. If you have any questions, I'm here to break them down. That's another lie that they've been telling us. That God, not only does God love everybody, but God created everybody equal. We all come from Adam. God's love is to the people of Adam, which is not true. Adam was the first man in the truth. When Adam was given that breath of life, he was given the truth on what to do and what not to do. As a matter of fact, give me Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 8 and hold 2 Ezra 6 and 54. I'll show you that. Because another thing that they tell us is that, oh, America is this big melting pot. America is the big melting pot. We have to live together, you know what I mean, in peace and harmony. But the oppressor has never lived in peace and harmony with anybody, with anyone. Y'all all know what happened. History tells all. The oppressor came over here on the Mayflower and tried to make it seem like that he was, a lost traveler. And our First Nation brothers and sisters, so loving, so compassionate, God's chosen people, took them in, taught them the principles of agriculture, taught them how to hunt for themselves, taught them how to grow, the corn and harvest the land. And what did the oppressor repay them with? Murder, mass genocide, more bloodshed, and rape. And you know what the oppressor called it? Him manifesting his destiny. When our First Nation brothers and sisters should have locked the oppressor up in cages, like they do our Mexican brothers and sisters. They have the nerve to tell us that, oh, we just have to love everybody. We'll stop Asian hate. We have to stand up for the Arabs. But when we say that Black and brown lives matter, what do they tell us? They tell us, well, no, all lives matter. That all lives matter when you murdered 77 million of my First Nation brothers and sisters. That all lives matter when you murdered 99 million of my Black and Hispanic brothers and sisters. No, they did not matter to the oppressor, because the oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of.
That's right.
He's the devil that the Bible speaks of, man. That pale-faced devil, speaks with a fourth tongue, to quote my First Nation brothers and sisters, and to quote my Hispanic brothers and sisters, El hombre blanco es el diablo. We were never meant to live in peace with him. We were never meant to all be together. God separated every nation, and I'll show you that. Read what you got. Deuteronomy 32 and start at verse 8.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, 32, verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance.
The Most High divided the nations their inheritance. Meaning the Most High gave each nation their portion. Each nation their portion. Read on.
When he separated the sons of Adam.
When he said what?
When he separated the sons of Adam.
God separated the sons of Adam. We ain't all supposed to be together like this. We are not. We have never been able to live in peace with these other nations. They tell us to stop Asian hate. Now, y'all going to have to forgive me, Israel, because I'm the wrong brother to talk to about that. Because when they say stop Asian hate, I think hurry up and buy. I think, Letitia Wilson, that sister that got beat to death, Matter of fact, Letitia Wilson was that sister that got shot to death by that Korean store owner in the 80s. And you can forget about all the countless Black and Hispanic sisters that get beaten, in their nail salons and in their stores. They tell us that we have to stand up for the so-called Asian man's plight, the hatred that they have against them. But what about the hatred that the world shows us? What about the hatred that the other nations show our First Nation brothers and sisters? Our First Nation brothers and sisters live in terrible conditions on the reservation. Our Hispanic brothers and sisters live in terrible conditions coming over, from their land, coming over from Mexico, coming over from Guatemala to Honduras, trying to seek a better life, just to be met with AR-15s and AK-47s, being destroyed, in the ghettos and the barrios along with my Black brothers and sisters. We go through hell each and every day, but they tell us that we have to stand up for every other nation's pain but our own. Well, guess what? It's time for us to stand up for ourselves, Black man, Hispanic man, First Nation man and woman. God does not give a damn about these other nations and their plight, and neither should we. God cares about us, First Nation man and woman, Black man and woman. We're the ones that are suffering all across the earth. Our love and affection should only go to each other. It should cease going to these other nations, because these other nations never have and never will give a damn about us. The scriptures say, who can make straight which I have made crooked? And the oppressor is a crooked bastard, and he's never going to change. The oppressor is not just going to wake up one day and say, you know what, maybe I should stop murdering the Lord's chosen people. Maybe I should stop oppressing that First Nation man and woman, that Hispanic man and woman. It ain't going to happen. Read Deuteronomy 32 and verse 8 from the top.
Okay. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 8. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. Verse 9, for the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. Verse 10, he found him in a desert land, and in the waste howling wilderness. He led him about. He instructed him. He kept him as the apple of his eye. God.
Read verse 8 again.
Verse 8. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam.
Now the Lord separated the sons of Adam. The Lord separated us for good reason. He separated us because he knows the oppressor is an evil monster. Read on.
He set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel.
He set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. Let's read on.
Verse 9. For the Lord's portion is his people.
The Lord's portion is what?
Is his people.
The Lord's portion is his people. We are the Lord's portion. God only cares about us. But you know what happens though? We see the oppressor in his heaven. And first, I can break this down too if you need it, Israel. You need a breakdown. Shalom, Yashpatah, you got any questions? All right, now, heaven and hell, right, is not what you think it is, especially coming up in the so-called Christian church. Heaven is not that big by in the sky that you go to when you die. No, that's not heaven. Heaven is right here. The oppressor is in his heaven. While we suffer on the reservation and in the ghetto and in the barrios, the oppressor is living in $1 million condos. He's living in his heaven in these inner cities. He is. While we are in hell. Hell is a condition. Hell is that reservation that we grow up on. Hell is that barrio that we grow up in. And hell is that ghetto that we grow up in. That's hell. Hell is not some little fiery underground that you go to with some little oppressor with a pitchfork poking you. That's Christian dogma. Hell is waking up and not realizing what the hell you are going to eat. Hell is waking up and realizing that we have no clean water in the barrio or in the ghetto or in the reservation. Hell, ask our brothers and sisters over there in North or South Dakota with the pipeline, trying to secure their land over there. But the oppressor is so evil, so money hungry. He got to get all the oil and resources that he can, like he didn't already rape us of everything already. Just goes to show you, man, that he is an evil, wicked bastard. And we should not choose none of his ways. Now, give me 2 Ezra 6 and verse 54. Now I'm going to show you what the Lord feels about it. Now I'm going to show you what God feels about this oppressor. Now, the thing is, and not just the oppressor, these other nations as a whole, the fact of the matter is that we have been lied to. We've been taught that God loves everybody. We've been taught, you know what I mean, that we have to be respecters of persons, that we have to, you know what I mean, understand and respect everybody's plight, you know, like the so-called Asians and what they go through, the so-called Arabs. And that's another thing. When they go through something, when something happens to someone that's not of our nation, the entire earth stands up and says something about it. We all watched, like for an example, we watched George Floyd get murdered on camera. We saw that, like live in living color. We saw it. And now they're having a trial to discuss what happened. But we saw it, right? We saw our brother be murdered. We saw the same thing happen to, you know, our Mexican brother, Ramon Lopez. We saw the same thing happen to Breonna Taylor and Vanessa Gillian. Murdered right before our eyes. And the oppressor ain't holding himself guilty for that. Now, the question is, if God loves everybody, if salvation is coming to every nation, you have to ask yourself, especially if you believe in that fictional construct of heaven up in the sky, you mean to tell me, Kwangwan, that Breonna Taylor is going to be up there in heaven one day with the men that murdered her? You mean to tell me that our First Nation brothers and sisters who were murdered, 77 million by the oppressor, are up there with those same pilgrims Talk about, man, you sure did rape, rob, and murder me, right? No, that's not the case. When you die, black man, Hispanic man, First Nation man and woman, you come back. Regeneration is real. It's in the Bible, reincarnation. We come back. We have no remembrance of former things. We come back to this earth. And the next thing is, why would the Most High save the same people that oppress and rape, rob, and destroy us? There's something coming to these other nations, and I'm going to go into that a little later in the class. But first, I want to show you what God actually feels about these other nations that is outside of Black, First Nation, and Hispanic. Read what you got, Abba.
Okay. Let's go back, 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, and verse 54.
Mm-hmm.
And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures.
Now, Adam was made Lord of all of thy creatures. Meaning, when Adam was given the breath of life, he was given dominion over the entire earth because he was the first man in the truth. Read on.
Of him come we all.
Of him come we all. That's what they say. They be like, hold up, you guy. We all come from Adam now. Everybody, not just you. Read on.
And the people also whom thou hast chosen.
And the people whom thou hast chosen. Who's the people that thou hast chosen? That black man and woman, that First Nation man and woman, that Hispanic man and woman. We are the people whom the Most High chose. Read on.
Verse 55. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sake.
Thou madest the world for our sake. Meaning this, the entire world, this age and society was made for us. It's made for the First Nation man and woman. It was made for the black man and woman. It wasn't made for the oppressor. This world was not intended to be given to the oppressor. But the scriptures say in Job 9:24, the earth was given unto the hand of the wicked. Now, why was it? The earth was given unto the hand of the wicked because we decided not to follow after all God's laws, statutes, and commandments. But this world was made for our sakes. And worlds mean age or society. This was made for us. The oppressor should not be in rulership. He should not be in charge. He shouldn't be. He is a child. He is. This was made for us. And guess what? We are going to rule again. When a black man by the name of Jesus Christ, Yahweh Shah Mashiach in the Hebrew, comes down and lays waste with 200 million angels to the oppressor in this earth for the rape, rob, and destruction of the Lord's chosen people, which is us. Read on.
Verse 56. As for the other people.
Now, as for the other people, I forget. Bill, Bob, Fred, Kathy, Chun-Li, Habibi, Nafutu, Nungala, the Black Panther, all of them. Read on.
Which also come of Adam.
Which also come from Adam, because they're going to tell us this. They're going to tell us that they all come from Adam. Let's read what the Lord said about them.
Thou hast said that they are nothing.
They are what?
Nothing.
Thou hast said that they are nothing. That's how much the Lord loves us. The Lord loves us so much, like we read in Deuteronomy 7:6. He chose us to be a special people, to be above all people. He said, them other nations, they are nothing. They are nothing. Read on.
But be like unto spittle.
But be like unto spittle. Now understand this. Think about how many times you spit a day and don't care. You spit sometimes when you're having a basic conversation, a little bit of spit comes out. The Lord is saying that the oppressor, Chinese, the Japanese, the Arab, the Filipinos, they are like spit. The Africans, they are like spit. And think about it. Think about that for 1 second. We've been taught the same lie over and over and over again, that God loves everybody, that Jesus is a white man, and we have to just love everyone and give the pastor all our money and let him, molest our kids and our wives. And while we still get murdered by the oppressor in the streets and in the ghetto and the reservation and the barrio, and then we say hallelujah and do the same shit next Sunday. Salaki for the language. It's crazy, right? But the Lord said that they are nothing. They are like spittle, like spit. Read on.
It has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel.
Now, it's likened the abundance of them from a drop that had fallen from a vessel. Imagine you have a bucket, right? And this bucket is filled, you know what I mean, with us, the Lord's chosen people, the First Nation man and woman, the Hispanic man and woman, the Black man and woman. Now, the little drops that fall out from that bucket, that's the other nations. The Lord don't care about them other little drops because he has us. He chose us. Feel that for a minute. Now, what happened? Why are we on the reservation? Why are we in the ghetto? Why are we in the barrio? Read on that, bud.
Verse 57. Oh, and now.
And hold Jeremiah 17 and verse 4. Let me get that right after this.
And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing.
Now, these heathen, which have been reputed as nothing, meaning these heathen have a reputation as nothing. The oppressor has a reputation of nothing. So does these other nations. Ezra understands this. He's like, well, dang, how did these heathen who have a reputation of nothing become to be lords over us? Read on.
Have begun to be lords over us and to devour us.
And become lords over us and to devour us. How did they do it? How? They become lords over us where they devour us. All of this land at one point belonged to our First Nation brothers and sisters and our Hispanic brothers and sisters. But on along came the conquistador. Along came Cortez and them boys, Christopher Columbus. Are you aware that when Christopher Columbus came over here to the Americas, guess what he had? He had Hebrew interpreters. You want to know why? Because First Nation man and woman, Hispanic man and woman, you didn't speak the native tongues that you have and had then and have now. That wasn't your language. You spoke Hebrew. Same thing with us, Black man and woman. We spoke Hebrew, the Lashawan Kodash, the Holy Tongue. That's our language. Columbus and these heathens knew this. And they also knew, the quote in the Apocrypha, you know what I mean, they were, I believe it's in the Maccabees, where the heathen said it, I think it was Moab, the so-called Chinese, that if they come over here and we are serving our God, to leave us alone, But if we're not, they can devour us. And they devour us to this day. They become lords over us. All of this land belonged to our First Nation and Hispanic brothers and sisters. But after Columbus and the conquistadors and Cortez came, guess what? Because we weren't serving our God, we went into slavery. And people think, you know what I mean, slavery was something that was exclusive to the Black man and woman that started, in 1619? But the oppressor lies. Slavery started as early as 1492 because the First Nation man and woman went on cargo slave ships to Spain. So did our Mexican brothers and sisters. Our so-called Puerto Rican and brothers and sisters went over there and got dropped off in the islands. First of all, if you look up Puerto Rican, Puerto Rico means rich port. That is what they named the island because the island was full of riches, a port of riches. And the so-called Taino Indian got dropped off over there. They're the tribe of Ephraim. The First Nation man and woman that got dropped off in Spain, that had to go through the hell of going through those border schools and reform schools. You can read about, some of the articles that came out on how evil and wicked those reform and border schools were to the so-called First Nation man and woman, who are really the children of Israel, the tribe of Gad, and the Seminole Indian, who was of the tribe of Reuben, Ra'albon. They went into slavery first as early as 1492. But the oppressor doesn't want that to be known because he's the devil that the Bible speaks of. Now, because we decided to turn from our power, from our God, to follow after these other nations, this is what happened. Go on, give me Jeremiah 17 and verse 4.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thy heritage.
We've been discontinued from thy inheritance. We have to understand this, Black man, First Nation man and woman. Our inheritance came from the Most High. We were given the law, statutes, and commandments. This Bible is the roadmap to our salvation and liberation as the Lord's chosen people. It says, for thine, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thy inheritance. We don't even know who the hell we are anymore. I read an article the other day that was so terrible. on what they would do to our First Nation brothers and sisters. That when they would take their babies, and they would take our babies from us and ship them off to the boarding schools, and then when the new babies were born, they wouldn't even give them, you know what I mean, the title of so-called First Nation or Native Indian. They wouldn't. It would document them as indigenous. They wouldn't even list their nationality. You got a lot of our brothers and sisters that are walking the earth right now that don't know what their nationality is. You can forget about it if you're Black or Hispanic. You walking around calling yourself African American. Well, you're not a descendant of Leo, Scipios, Africanus, or Americos Vespucci. Hispanic man and woman, you are not the children of Cortez. First Nation man and woman, you are not the children of Christopher Columbus. We are the children of the power, man, the children of the power, Yasha Allah in the Hebrew. We are the children of the Most High. Read it again from the top.
Come. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee.
The Lord gave us this inheritance. The Lord gave us laws, statutes, and commandments, rules, and guidelines that we have to follow as the Lord's chosen people. Read on.
And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not.
And I will cause thee to serve thy enemies in the land that thou knowest not. We don't know this land. We don't. To be honest, Black man, First Nation man and woman, America is not our real home. It's not. We've been discontinued from our heritage and our culture. We have long been removed from our actual land. The so-called Jew, who is not a Jew, who's the devil that the Bible speaks of, he's in our land. He's in Jerusalem. He's in Zion. He's in Israel right now. But Israel is our land, Black man, First Nation man and woman. That's our land that they're in right now. America is not our home. It is not our rest. America is spiritually Egypt and Sodom and Gomorrah. How do you know? Every evil and wicked thing is being done and promoted here in America to the Lord's chosen people. You can forget about it. Every evil and abominable thing. They tell us that homosexuality is an alternative lifestyle. They tell us, you know what I mean, that it's all right. You know what I mean? If your 12-year-old son could come to you and change his gender. They encourage us to abort our babies, to commit mass murder against ourselves by destroying our own babies, and to hate and murder one another. Let me ask you this. How does guns get into the barrio and the reservation? Do we own boats? Do we? We own boats? For real? We own planes? We don't. How does the cocaine get into the reservation? How? How did he get it in? It's the oppressor. He's doing that.
Right.
I ask brothers all the time, I'm from Southwest Philadelphia. How the hell did crack get into Southwest Philadelphia? Right. We don't own planes and boats. They do this to us. They don't want us to come back to our power. They don't want us to serve our God. That's why we've been discontinued, and we serve our enemies till this very day. You may think you're making it. You may think because you're doing every evil thing, trying to live like the oppressor, just because you got your own business, just because you become a mega rap star, a pop star. Hell, they may give you a couple casinos and you may think you win it. But the scriptures say, what does a man gain if he gain? What does a man profit? Christ said, what does a man profit if he gain the whole world but lose his own soul? And we've given up our soul. We've given up who we are for what? For a crumb of what the oppressor has. We serve our enemies here in America till this very day. I can go on and on about that. A lot of us work something called a job. You think because you got a little job, you making 10, 12. Brother told me I'm making $20 an hour. I ain't got to do this. He told me I made it, Kwamdor. Brother told me he made it. And I'm like, brother, you go to an elevator plantation each and every day. They can give you $20, right? How much money is the man above you making, that oppressor? How much is he making? While you sitting here trying to hold your head up high against me, your white daddy is over there in Jamaica somewhere. He's over there in Aruba. He's over there on an island being an evil bastard, living it up. We serve our enemies till this very day. I brought it up. They give you a couple casinos and you think you made it. You got some First Nation brothers and sisters who think they made it because you got a casino. But the oppressor is the one that profits off of that. He's the one that allowed you to have that. You think because you're making a little bit of money, how can you forget that the entire landscape of where those little casinos were built, that's your land. You own all of that. Every time I look at Nevada and Arizona and Texas and Oklahoma and the small reservations that they have and the small portion that they gave our brothers and sisters after they used the tactics of divide and conquer to push them out and pit them against each other, the oppressor ran a hell of a sting, a hell of a game on our people, where we think because we have a little crumb that we made it here. They do that. When all of this is ours, and it's going to be ours again. We've been discontinued. We serve our enemies to this day. Read on.
For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever.
Which shall burn forever. Now, the Rakatha Yahweh Shah, man, for the Israelite School of UPK, thank the Most High for our King, Yahweh Shah Mashiach. You know him as Jesus Christ, a black man who gave up his life so we could come back to the Most High, that we can come back to the Most High. Now, this is the opportunity that we have as the Lord's chosen people to get ourselves together, to look ourselves in the mirror, man, to come back to our inheritance, man, in which the Lord gave us. Now, if I could, give me Habakkuk 2 in verse 12. Why do I say that we have to remember on what these other nations have done to us? Why do I say that we have to come back to our power? The problem is too many of our people are comfortable here in America. We are comfortable. We cannot be comfortable. We can't. First of all, the Lord is plaguing the entire earth with the coronavirus, the COVID-19, and there are more plagues to come. And another scary statistic behind that is when the COVID-19 was first unleashed, it was unleashed on the Chinese man and woman, for being evil, abominable bastards to the Lord's chosen people. And then the oppressor shut down his economy. That's why everybody has to wear a mask. But because we continue to send us the Lord's chosen people, black man, First Nation man and woman, it hit us the hardest. Are you aware that the coronavirus has hit our First Nation brothers and sisters the hardest, to where they don't even want to get them the supply that they need out there on the reservation? It was a specific reservation out there in Arizona where they were withheld and supplies for months. Masks and other vials and other things that they need to help to combat, the coronavirus. But they don't want to do that. They don't want to help our First Nation brothers and sisters. They damn sure don't want to help us, in the ghetto and the barrio. That's why in many states, and especially in the reservation, while they're withholding, the vaccine. A lot of our people have this, this mythology with us, this dogma where vaccines kill people, where they do not. They do not. Black man created vaccinations, where there was a brother who had, it was a brother, that came across the cure for smallpox. He figured out that if he ingested himself with a little bit of it while he didn't have it, that the antibodies would form in his body and it would help, combat and eradicate it. This is a brother that did that. Now, I brought up smallpox for a specific reason. Salaki. Officer Matarab on dad, big shout out to Officer Matarab, brought out something that was heavy. He said they sent them body bags as relief instead of necessary supplies to combat COVID. The white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of.
Right.
The oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of. They sent body bags. And the sad thing is, the saddest part about it all, we're supposed to be kicking back and watching this COVID, this plague come and destroy the heathens for what they do to us. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to kick back and watch our God go to work on these heathens. I think about that sister that was in New York that was screaming at the top of her lungs and crying. It was horrifying to watch, screaming and cursing out that devil de Blasio, because he wasn't having. This is how you know that black and brown people, black and Hispanic and First Nation people are the same people. We're suffering the same curses. What Officer Matarab brought out was heavy. That was a sister in New York who had to live with her dead husband for weeks because the oppressor would not come and pick up her husband's body. They're sending body bags, you know what I mean, to our communities and the reservations and the ghettos and the barrios. And they're withholding the necessary supplies and the vaccinations because they want us to die of the COVID. They want us to continue to be destroyed. And guess what? America was established on bloodshed. America was established on wickedness. And we're going to go into that right now. Read what you got, Bob.
Oh God. This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 12.
Mm-hmm.
Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood.
Now, woe to him that buildeth a town with blood. Woe meaning destruction. Woe to him that buildeth a town on blood. Who built a town on blood? The oppressor did. He came over here on that Mayflower, said, you know what, First Nation man and woman, we're lost travelers. Can you please teach us the principles of agriculture? Our people so generous, so compassionate, so loving, taught you how to grow the corn, taught you how to hunt the bison, taught you how to take care of yourself. And what did they do? People talk about conspiracy theories all the time, but I'll tell you what wasn't a conspiracy theory. The oppressor unleashed a vicious form of biological warfare. When our First Nation brothers and sisters, you know the story, and it's not just a story, this is history, it's facts. When our brothers and sisters went to bed getting blankets and pillows from the oppressor, he laced them with smallpox. The oppressor unleashed a diabolical form of biological warfare by ingesting smallpox to our First Nation brothers and sisters, committing mass genocide on our people, going out and killing and murdering the bison for sport to starve our First Nation brothers and sisters, and then lock them up on reservations and lock up our Mexican brothers and sisters, you know what I mean, and our Honduran brothers and sisters in cages. The oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of. God is saying destruction is coming to him that have built up a city by iniquity, by sin. America was built on sin. America is Egypt, Sodom and Gomorrah, and Babylon on steroids and crack and venom. I'm telling you. Read on.
Oh God. And establisheth a city by iniquity.
And establish a city by iniquity. Now, they also push every evil, sinful thing on the planet. They tell us we're number one, Israel. We're number one in abortions. They put abortion clinics on every corner of our streets and encourage all women to abort our babies, to murder our own children. It just goes to show you just how abominable this oppressor is. He built America by sin. He is that and bloodshed, man. He did this. And he has something coming to him for that. This is why it's important for us as the Lord's chosen people to come back together, to unite. The oppressor is going to pay for all of his sins and all of his crimes. Go on, give me Deuteronomy 28 and verse 48. As a matter of fact, first, give me Deuteronomy 28 and verse 43. Start at verse 43. Hold Psalms 83. Hold Psalms 83 for me. But let me get Deuteronomy 28 and 43 first. We got to understand who we're dealing with. First off, we have to understand this is what shouldn't have happened. We're supposed to be on top. But the reason why the oppressor is on top now, while he's in his heaven, while we are down on the bottom in hell, in the ghetto and in the reservation, this is why. Read what you got.
Come, sir. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 43. Mm-hmm. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high.
The stranger that is within thee shall get thee above thee very high. Who is the stranger? The oppressor is the stranger. He got up above us very high. He did. But because we decided to follow after these heathens, he got above us very high. He came over here to the so-called Americas, and he was on the bottom, and our First Nation brothers and sisters was on top. But because we weren't doing what the Lord said to do, now they're in their heaven. Now they got all of America. They got New York, Philadelphia. They got Los Angeles. They got Oklahoma City. They got Houston. They have everything. They're on the top. And guess who came down? Read it again from the top.
The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high.
The stranger that is within thee shall get above thee very high. The oppressor is above us very high. He is at the top. The scriptures say that he will exalt himself like the Most High. And you see, he builds his skyscrapers all the way up to the heavens. He does that. The oppressor is the one that has a God complex. He's the one that believes that he should be in rulership, that he was cheated, and the sad thing is, Black man, First Nation, Hispanic man and woman, the oppressor should have never been put in this position. This is why it's time for us to come back to our God, because he's coming back to that bottom. But because we disobeyed the Lord, now he's up here. You see it. You see how smug they are. You look at Joe Biden and how evil he is. Look at Donald Trump. Look at all of these oppressors. They are now deliberating and trying to decide, should we give them a fourth stimulus check? They're fighting and debating to give us, $600, $800, $1,200, $1,400.
Right.
But you know what they don't want to do? They don't want to give you that. They don't want to give you $1,400 to $1,600. They for damn sure don't want to give you supplies, to combat the coronavirus, but they will send you body bags, though. They will send you body bags. They're up high, and we have come down very low. Read on.
And thou shalt come down very low.
And thou shalt come down very low. We have come down very low. Read on.
He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him.
He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. You can forget about it. What do you got to do, if you want to buy a home? You got to go to a bank. You got to go to the bank. He lends to you. You don't lend to the oppressor. You don't do that. Think about it for 1 second. And this is how sad it is and how evil the oppressor is. He came over here. He stole this land from God's people, the children of Israel, from the tribe of Gad and Rehoboam and Issachar and Zabalawan, the so-called Hispanic and First Nation people. He took our land from us, and now he lends to us. We don't lend to him. He took this from us. Read on.
He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
He's the head, and we're the tail. He's the head, and we're the tail. Why is that so? Read on.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee.
All these what?
Curses shall come upon thee.
We have to understand that we are cursed. These curses came upon us for a reason, because we did not do what the Lord said to do. These curses have come upon us. Read on.
And shall pursue thee and overtake thee.
You may think if you're not doing what the Lord said to do, you may think you can run from these curses. You cannot. You can't. And to show you how you can't run away from it, look at DMX. That brother had everything. You look at him and say, damn, man, that brother had money. He had fame. You know what I mean? But the curse is still caught up with him. He was still addicted, to crack, to smoking. Think about how many of our people that are downtrodden, that are addicted to crack and marijuana and have extreme alcoholism. You know how many of our First Nation brothers and sisters drink themselves to death before the age of 40? You know how much, cocaine and opium, that our brothers and sisters are smoking in the ghetto and the barrio? You may think that you're getting up high, following after the oppressor and sinning, but these curses, you're not going to outrun them. And we run pretty fast, Israel. We run fast. But these curses, these problems that we have, they're faster. And the solution is simple. We have to stop doing the evil that the oppressor in this world wants us to do. We have to come back to the Most High by a whole 2 Chronicles 7:14. Keep reading, Congo.
All these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed.
Until thou be destroyed. Until thou be destroyed. Read on.
Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
That's self-explanatory. I just read that. I just broke that down. Because we have not hearkened unto the voice of the Lord. Read on.
To keep his commandments.
To keep what?
His commandments.
We have to keep the commandments of the Most High. That's what we have to do as the Lord's chosen people. Keep the law, statutes, and commandments. I know they like to say, oh, but it's just 10 commandments. No, it's over 600. It's over 16 laws, statutes, and commandments that we have to keep. Black man, First Nation, Hispanic man, and woman. Read on.
To keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee.
Which he commanded thee. He commanded us to do this. Drop down to verse 48.
Come. Therefore, verse 48, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee.
We are serving our enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee. You want to know where this oppressor came from? The oppressor got sent against us because we disobeyed the Most High. The scriptures say in Job 9:24 that the earth was given into the hand of the wicked, and the oppressor is the wicked on the earth. Read on.
In hunger and in thirst.
In hunger and in thirst. How do we do it in hunger and in thirst, Salaki? Shalom, y'all watching the Oh, Salaki, so I'm teaching class. Common concept. Low question. How in hunger and in thirst? You can't feed and clothe yourself without the oppressor, without these other nations. Hell, if you look at the back of your tag or whatever clothing you have, quote Donald Trump, it says made in China. Made in China by the so-called Chinese, Moab in the Hebrew, Moab, made by the oppressor. Hunger and in thirst. First Nation man and woman, black man and woman, go outside in your yard and try to collect rainwater. Try to collect rainwater. Go out there and put 2 pots out there and try to collect rainwater and see what happens. You ain't gonna be able to do it. You're not gonna be able to do it. Your oppressor gonna come and grab you and lock you up like you Noriega if you go out there and try to collect rainwater. You can't do it. Just to show you just how evil he is, man. In hunger and in thirst, meaning you can't clothe yourself without him. You can't, you can't feed yourself without him. You can't, you can't even, go and get water. I thought water was free. Soon they're going to be charging for air. They might already be doing that. The oppressor might already be charging us for air that we breathe.
Right.
Read on.
And in nakedness.
And in nakedness. Can't clothe yourself without him neither. Read on. And what's so sad, that's also really evil in what they did. And that's also like what makes it so horrifying on how they, killed all of the bison for sport. Just killing them. We didn't just use the bison to eat. We lived off of the bison. And we wasn't out there just killing all the bison. The American bison is damn near extinct now because the oppressor is an evil bastard. The bison provided, clothing for our First Nation brothers and sisters. You know what I mean? We used to make some fly boots out of that bison. And you can forget about the supplements and protein the meat gave, but the oppressor saw that and said, nah, can't have none of that. You ain't gonna be able to clothe yourself without me. You're not gonna be able to feed yourself or get some drinking water without me. Read on.
And in want of all things.
And in want of all things. Meaning we can't get anything without the oppressor. Read on.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
Now, the yoke of iron is still upon our neck. They put a physical yoke of iron upon our neck. You know what I mean? When they put us into slavery, black man, Hispanic man, First Nation man and woman, the so-called Jew like to talk about the death marches. But the real death marches is when the conquistador, the Spaniard, and when and Christopher Columbus put that yoke of iron upon our First Nation brothers and sisters' neck and drove them off to Spain. And when they came and put that yoke of iron upon our neck, black man and woman, that yoke of iron nowadays, they may have took the physical yoke off, but the mental yoke of iron is still there. You still defend and love the oppressor like he's family while we treat each other like garbage. And it's time for us to start to love one another again, First Nation man and woman, black man and woman. The scriptures say in Mark 12 and 29 and 30, but thou shalt love the Most High with all thy mind, all thy soul, and all thy strength, and to love thy neighbor, meaning love thy brother as thyself. We have to love the Most High and love each other as ourselves, Israel. I pray you understand. Read on.
Verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth.
As swift as the what?
The eagle flieth.
As swift as the eagle flieth. What nation is infatuated with eagles?
You.
The oppressor. The oppressor is the one that's infatuated with eagles. And he's always had this infatuation. He had it in Rome. The Romans are still in charge. The oppressor, who are the Edomites, who was Esau, who was the devil that the Bible speaks of, they are like the eagle. And that's the team of that sorry team here in Philadelphia, Palm One. They love the eagle. The eagle is the top fowl of the airs. Man, I saw an eagle like by grab a deer, pick him up, and then drop him off a cliff and eat it. I said, God damn. But you know what else I saw when I saw that eagle do that? I saw a knee coming on George Floyd's neck. I saw a knee going on Ramon Lopez's neck. I saw them raping and murdering and mutilating and burying a Mexican sister by the name of Vanessa Gilliam. I saw, Breonna Taylor being murdered by the oppressor while she laid in her own bed. As swift as the eagle flieth, as swift as the oppressor came over here and murdered 77 million of our First Nation brothers and sisters. The oppressor is that eagle, man. Read on.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Read on.
A nation of fierce countenance.
The oppressor has a fierce countenance. He came over here under the guile, masquerading as someone, of peace. Coming up here talking about, I'm just a low traveler. I'm just here, to discover the so-called new world. But really, he came to rape, rob, and destroy God's chosen people, and then called it manifesting his destiny. He smiled in the faces of our First Nation brothers and sisters, and then proceeded to rape, rob, and destroy them, man. Read it again from the top.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth.
As swift as the eagle flieth. Read on.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
Read that last part again.
A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old.
Here's the thing. He don't regard the person of the old. The oppressor, we got a saying that we like to say. The oppressor ain't got no picks. He don't have no picks. When he laced smallpox in the blankets and pillows, our First Nation brothers and sisters, man, they gave them same pillows and blankets to women and babies. He don't give a damn about the person of the old nor the young. He don't care. And you see it today. How old was George Floyd? 40? Tamir Rice was 12. Vanessa Gilliam and Breonna Taylor were both 23 years old.
Right.
They don't give a damn how old or young you are. Because to the oppressor, you are a savage. To the oppressor, you are a nigger. You are a spit. When we are none of those things, man. We are the children of the power. We are God's chosen people. The Israelites of antiquity, man. Just goes to show you just how evil this devil that we're dealing with. He didn't give a damn, and he doesn't give a damn. He don't care how old you are. He don't care how young you are. He only cares about one thing, and that's destroying God's chosen people. Read on.
And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed.
Who?
Till thou be destroyed.
Who killed the buffalo for sport? Who took your land and decided to build America? Who did that? The oppressor did it. He's the one that did these things, man. And this is why it's important for us as God's chosen people, man, to come back. Give me 2 Chronicles 7:14. Read that.
Oh, God. This is the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 7, and verse 14. If my people which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven.
Read that again.
Oh God, it's my people, which are called by my name.
We are God's chosen people, and we are called by the Lord's name. Read on.
Oh God, shall humble
We
themselves.
should hate to humble ourselves. It's time for us to humble ourselves, black man, Hispanic man, First Nation man and woman. Turn from our evil ways. Turn from America. Turn, you know what I mean, from this life of iniquity, this life of sin. Read on.
And pray and seek my face
And pray and seek the face of the Most High. Read on.
and turn from their wicked ways. Then will I hear from heaven.
Then will I hear from heaven. Then will the Most High hear from heaven, man. That's why it's important for us to turn back to our power. If I could get two more scriptures, Bubba could show. Kwangwa, give me Baruch 3, and I want you to start at verse 4. And I want you to get me Revelation 18 and verse 4.
Oh God.
But let me get Baruch 3 and 4 first.
Come, sir.
Go ahead.
The book of Baruch, chapter 3, verse 4. O Lord Almighty, thou God of Israel, hear now the prayers of the dead Israelites.
Hear now the prayers of the dead Israelites. You know who are the dead Israelites? The dead Israelites are the 77 million First Nation Israelites, man. The 77 million First Nation men and women. The 99 million Black and Hispanic women, man. We are the dead. We are the dead Israelites, man. Our ancestors that died at the hand of the oppressor, man. They are the dead Israelites. Read on. Hear now the prayer of the dead Israelites. Read on.
And of their children.
And of their children. We're their children. We're the children of those 77 million that were murdered by the oppressor. Hear now the prayers of the dead Israelites and their children. Read on.
Which have sinned before thee.
Which have sinned before thee. Because we sinned before the Most High. We sinned before the Most High. Hear now our prayers. That's why when we read in 2 Chronicles 7 and 14, it's time for us to turn from our wicked ways. When I'm going to go next Friday, you know what I mean, Lord willing, you know what I mean, next time I get a chance to hold down this class, the next week at the Passover, I'm gonna break down, you know what I mean, who are the real, I'm gonna do a Gentile breakdown, and I'm gonna break down, you know, John 3:16. Because Christians have it misconstrued that Christ came and died for everybody, and he didn't. Jesus Christ, who was a black man, did not die for everybody. He died for the First Nation man and woman, the Black man and Hispanic man and woman. And Christ did not die so you can continue to be an evil, wicked sinner. Christ did not die for that. Christ died for us to come back to the Most High. Now, we have to hear the prayers we're asking the Most High to hear the prayers of the dead Israelites and of their children, which have sinned before thee. Read on.
And not hearken unto the voice of thee, their God.
And we have not hearkened unto the voice of their God. But we're saying, Lord, hear now our prayers. Why? Because read on.
For the which caused these plagues cleave unto us.
These plagues cleave unto us. These plagues have cleaved unto us, like the COVID-19. And you know what I mean? The reason why the COVID-19 has cleaved unto us this hard is because we're still sinning against our power. Now is the time for us to stop sinning, to get ourselves together. You know what I mean? So this plague can go and run its course through the other nations and bypass us. The same way how the death angel came down and passed over us and killed the firstborn of those Egyptians, man. God can do the same thing to the oppressor. This is why, you know what I mean, Baruch is saying, hear now the prayers of the dead Israelites and their children, which have sinned before thee, and which have not hearkened unto the voice of their God, for which these plagues cleave unto us. These plagues follow us and cleave unto us because we're disobeying the Most High. And in order for these plagues not to cleave unto us, in order for the oppressor not to kill us in the streets, to not rape and murder our children and destroy us, we have to come back to our God. Give me Revelation 18 and verse 4, and I'll close out with that.
This book, Revelation 18, verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people.
Come out of her, my people. We have to come out of America. We have to come out of America, black man, First Nation man and woman, Hispanic man and woman. Read on.
That ye be not partakers of our
Do
sins,
not be partakers of the sins of the oppressor, the sins of America, the sins of these other nations. Read on.
and that ye receive not of our plagues.
And receive not of her plagues. You don't want to receive of the plagues that are here and that are to come. If you think the COVID-19 is the beginning, it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
It's just the tip of the iceberg. You think, the COVID-19 began, it's getting ready to pass? No, there are more plagues to come. This is why the Lord is saying, come out of her, my people. First Nation man and woman, let's take our minds out of America. Hispanic man and woman, let's take our minds out of America. Black man and woman, let's take our minds out of America and come back to serve our God, to love the Most High with all thy mind, all thy soul, and all thy strength, and to love thy brother as thyself. That's what we have to do. And with that being said, I'm Preaching Officer 1000 Yediah. This was the Friday scripture breakdown class. And with that, I'm going to say shalom. Also, we have the Passover next Saturday, April 24th at the BH Ranch in Houston, Texas. I have to implore you all to pay your tithes. Pay your tithes. Make sure you tune in to Blackwatch every Monday from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Tune in to Let a Hebrew Speak from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Ask Ye the Prophets with General Mayaka Allah every Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Send in your questions to AskYeTheProphets@gmail.com, or you can DM us on the Facebook page. And with that, shalom.